Hi, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Paint with Heart here in the Paint with Heart studios in New Hampshire. I'm Cindy Harrison, your host and artist for Paint with Heart. And today we are beginning the first of our 4 weeks of Christmas in July. So here to give us the word of the week is my bestie, Melissa Reyes.
Well, hi, Cindy. Yes, I'm Melissa Reyes, Ms. Meliz, and you can find me at msmeliz.com. And yes, today, the word of the day we take from my affirmations card deck is positive. So I really like these little flowers. They look so happy and positive and kind of summer-like, which it is now, but we are doing our Christmas in July, and we're thinking about these little deers that we're going to be painting, and I'm excited about that because I don't know if you know this, Cindy, but I have a little Snow White and a tiny little deer, which I'm going to get and I'll show you, from Snow White's little garden. And I've had that, from the Snow White collection, I've had that little porcelain character for a really long time, like my whole life, and it's so cute. And those kinds of things, having those things around, keep me centered in my positive, I guess they call that self-care. You like keep things around you that make you happy. So I like to have that in my collection. And I think that these Christmas decorations have a positive effect on us too. When you either create something to give as a gift or you keep in your own collection, it brings back those happy memories. So I hope that we remember that every time when we bring out this little deer. So here's Snow White, bone china. She's china, not porcelain. I have to get that right. And then this is the little deer. So like Bambi, right? Little Bambi.
Very beautiful. Mm-hmm.
So the little spots on the back. So I'm anxious to see what we're going to paint today. Tell us about it, Cindy.
I will. Thank you. Okay, so here is the project. This is actually one side of the same project. So we're going to work on this side first. The postcard cutout here is painted. First off, we seal it and sand it. Even though it's like a masonite, it still gets rough, so we have to sand it. And there's a whole video on how I prepared with the raised stencil look. You can find it on YouTube or on my website. And we base coated it with probably one coat of winter blue. And now we're ready to start adding some color and some glitter. I first off take, again, the winter blue, and we're going to mix a little Payne's gray with that and white out as well. So make yourself some little puddles of these three colors. I'm going to start off by using my 3/4 inch wash brush. And I'm going to pick up some of the winter blue and put that over our surface. It doesn't have to hit every nook and cranny. Pretty much I'm concentrating it on the middle. Then I'm going to put my dirty brush into the white. What I'll do is I'll bring that over here so you can see what I'm doing. Put my dirty brush into the white and pick it up and start slapping it in the middle. It might take some more white to get it light, but I'm going to wipe off the brush on a paper towel and then go pick up the Payne's gray on the corner of my brush and then start working that around the edges. And because I have other colors in my brush, it tones down or lightens up that. Now we do want to put some of this in the middle eventually, but we're going to just concentrate around the outside edges for right now. If your brush starts to drag, then it means the paint's drying. So what you want to do is pick up a little moisture. With what was left on my brush, now I'm going over everything. So we can kind of bring in some of that. Not so much this, but if I touch it, I want to start off light to see how much paint is on my brush. Always start with the most on the outside edge. Kind of blend it so that you don't have makeup lines where one color stops and the other color begins. I'm adding a little moisture to my brush. I'm going to let that set up for a little bit because I want to then bring this dark Payne's gray around it, but it has to be dry, otherwise it just keeps blending. Now, this might be a little too light because when we go to put our white on there, it might not show up so much. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of the Payne's gray in with the blue, the winter blue. I don't really want it Payne's gray. I just want it a little darker. Just around the snowflake. But see how it just kind of all blends. So that's why I need to stop, let it dry. And I have my handy dandy blow dryer. Now that that's dry, I can go back in with my damp brush and pick up the Payne's gray. And when I do this time, the Payne's gray will stay on top of the paint and not blend in with what's underneath it. And I can make all these edges darker. We started with a base coat of winter white. Winter blue. I had done the raised snowflake design last night with the dimensional effects. Have a puddle of Snow White, a puddle of winter blue, and a puddle of Payne's gray. And then I put, with my damp 3/4 inch wash brush, I put some winter blue around the center area at kind of 2/3 of the postcard, and mixed a little dirty brush, picked up some white, mixed some white in there. And then I started with the Payne's gray around the outer edge. If that is dry and you're liking what you got going on there, in person, the new one looks darker than the old one, but on the camera, they look about the same. And it would appear like I added a little bit more of the Payne's gray, but I'm gonna still mix it because I don't want that. There's a big value difference between the winter blue and the Payne's gray, and I just don't wanna go that dark that fast in here. So I'm going to pick up some of that mix, and I'm going to slip slap, if you will, crisscross it here and there throughout my design to just add a few brush strokes. And I mean, I'm leaving strokes there, and it's okay, of the Payne's gray winter blue mix. Now I'm going to dry that. The darker the base coat is, the easier your snowflakes will show up. Because they're so raised, I know that when I go over them with the white, I'm going to take my dome round, this is a 6, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the winter blue and some white, and make it a lighter winter blue color to start with. Again, I'm looking for small value changes, not so much so fast. And I'm going to start pouncing and hitting on the tops of my stencils. I'm trying not to get it on the other areas. I mean, if you press too hard, your brush will go down and they will touch the background. But we're making a small value change right now. And I always wipe off the excess on my paper towel because I don't want clumps of paint here. And you can do this on boxes and gift tags, cards, all that fun stuff. Now I'm going to just wipe the brush out, and I'm going to pick up some straight white. And touch on some of the areas that I want to bring to the forefront. And after I did this, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get a gem, one of those clear or AB gem kind of things, and put them in the center of each of these snowflakes. I haven't done it yet, but I do plan on doing that. I think it'll be cool. Now, if you get into an area that you didn't mean to put the paint, like I just did, go get your watered down brush and just wipe that off and get it off your background. My brush is getting a little thick. I'm going to lie my brush down this way instead of straight on, and then that should help me not get paint on my background. Now, if you have a stencil and you want to put a word there, you can go ahead and do that again with this brush and the stencil. I'm going to take my number 4 round, and I'm going to take the white, or you can have the white and winter blue mix. And I'm going to write the word joy. As you saw, I'm not a real letter person, but I'm trying. So once that's dry, I can go over it with the white, but if you go a little off to one side or the other, it will leave like a shadow. So if I now go in with the straight white and say I go a little bit higher than what I did, or a little bit too, let's go to the right or go to the left. So it gives it a nice dual color effect. Let's get our glitter out. I have 2 kinds of glamour dust here. I have the ultrafine glitter paint, and then this is the loose stuff sprinkle on, because sometimes this just doesn't have enough glitter for me. So I also have this by my side just in case. What I'm going to do is put out a puddle of that, and with a fan brush, pick up that paint and start to just glide my brush across my piece. And you can do it straight on, you can do it in a crisscrossy kind of way. I really wanted to get most of it on top of the snowflake, but if you get it in other places, is it a bad thing? No, because you can never have enough glitter sometimes. So I'm going to put that on. If you want more glitter than what this paint is leaving, you take the glamour dust. I would do it over a piece of paper or your garbage and just kind of sprinkle some of this on. And where you have the wet glitter paint, it will adhere to it and the rest will fall off. So we're going to set this aside to dry. So this is what it looks like dry. And then we can go over it with some varnish. But now we're going to do this side. Now that the coat of paint is dry, go ahead and trace on just the horizon line from your pattern. I'm going to put out a puddle of Snow White and Payne's Gray, and we're going to work a little on some clouds and some of the background. Let's take number 8 dome brush, pick up some white, even if you mix it with a little bit of the winter blue, make it a little bit a lighter blue. Wipe off the excess on your paper towel. And then let's kind of scuff some clouds. If it doesn't show up, then you need to add more white. And I'm keeping this to the top because our trees are going to be tall, so we're not going to see a lot of this. You don't want a lot of contrast. So they're up there. You can wipe some of that off. You want to, with this brush, pick up some Payne's Gray and wipe most of that off. And I'm going just to hit the edges. Circular motion around the edges of the project, of the surface. If you want to take a little bit of it and scruff it under your clouds. And then continue this on all the way around your edge. When you're done doing that, if you want to wipe off the excess off your brush, go back into that white, wipe that excess off and go back in, and now you should be able to see some of your cloud fluff with that Payne's Gray behind it. Again, it's just there in case our trees don't go all the way up to the top. I'm going to now use my 3/4 inch wash brush, and I'm going to side load Payne's Gray and bring it up about 1/3 of the way. So if you want to take your water and pre-wet, I'm not going all the way up to my clouds. Payne's Gray and go right to the horizon line, the ground line, and you can go right off the edge if you want and just bring that up about 1/3 of the way. Wash your brush off, and with a clean brush just soften that makeup line, walk it back down a little bit, light pressure. So now you have a gradation of Payne's Gray up. Dry that. If after it dries you see a ghost, and the ghost is where there's watered down color and no color, take your Q-tip with either water on it or some spit and just go over that line softly, and you should start to be able to blend that area so that ghost line kind of dissipates. Okay, now I'm going to trace on the trees. So I transferred on the back 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not the front one. And now I'm going to put out a puddle of midnight green, plantation pine, and have your puddle of white. I'm going to use my number 2 fan. This is a Scharf Series 360. I'm going to start with the midnight green, and I'm going to place that on the back ones first. I start by tapping on the vertical line, which would be the center of the tree. And then I start to go to the left upper, right upper, and as I get, and I need to turn my piece around as you see, and then I can start to get more horizontal and rocking it back and forth. You can stop when you get to where it overlaps the other two trees completely is covered. You don't have to bring it all the way down, but at least go that far. Pick up the next one and do the same thing. Up left, up right, up right, up left, and then start to use just the corner here to get in there, and then as you get wider at the bottom you can use the whole brush. And make that middle kind of dark. That's your density. Okay, now I'm going to work on these next ones. If you want to tape off this area or you want to wash it off, wet it, pre-wet it, you can get rid of some of the lines. And you don't want to make it so uniformly even. Trees are not uniformly even. They have sometimes empty spots and sometimes just out and out row branches. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush out. I'm going to pick up some plantation pine. And then I'm going to add it to one side, only to the front trees. So not this back one. I'll add it to this one on the right side mostly. Not that one. And we have to decide which one of these is going to be in the front. Let's put this one in front. If you want to put some on this side of that one, you can, just so that it gives you a difference there. We're going to let those dry and then we're going to put snow on them. With our white, I'm going to do a soft float over that whole area. But I'm just going to go with bring that color there and then kind of just wash that whole area with some white. I'm going to dry that and then we're going to add our snow. Now that that's dry, I'm going to take my fan brush, go into the white, and I'm going to start adding some snow caps, and I'm going to start on the right side of the trees and work my way left. If you're not sure how much paint you have on your brush, you can always start at the bottom to see. And I'm going back and forth like a zigzag. And leave green areas in between so that you can see the difference from one tree to the next. I'm just loading up this corner right now. So I'm going to do this back one and not get down too far. And let's do this back one and not get down too far. Okay, so now I can work on this one here. I'll start at the bottom, bring it up, and then start to get just on the tip, get to the top. And now let's do the last one. So we have a little forest going here. Okay, dry this and then trace on the deer, the front tree, the little bush, and the little valleys. You'll need white graphite to get the deer over the trees to see that graphite, and I used black in the other areas. Now we can put this tree on in the same manner. It's half off, so don't worry about it. We're going to start with the midnight green, and we don't really have a center, so we're just going to start tapping while that's drying. I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm going to add some burnt umber twigs on that bush down there. I like pulling mine up. And your tree sometimes gets bigger than your line drawing, so just move your little bush over. Don't worry about it. Let's base our deer in with white. You can do that using my 3 round. So base coat that whole deer in while your tree and your bush dries. Now that the tree is dry, we can go back in with some plantation pine. Add some up there and then flatten your brush out, rock it back and forth. Make it thicker in the middle. I'm going to go in with some desert sand in my liner brush and just add a few highlights of twigs on this bush. Kind of little dashes, not a whole lot. And then I can go right over that with some white and tap the white down so it's not a straight line, but it's snow clumped on some of the branches or stuck in the crevices where branches meet. So that's just, it's tapped in, it's not painted on like the lines of the branches. Irregular. If this is dry, let's tap in some white. Now this one blends in with those, so how do we fix that? I'm going to go in with my number 12 flat, pick up some of the midnight green on the corner like a side load, and I'm just going to kind of darken the trees that fall behind. See how I did that? So I'm just going to darken the tree as they fall behind the other one. You can do the same over here if you want, and I think I'll put this one behind. So see how that kind of creates a more definition for this tree here. Now we're going to add the snow around our deer and under here. Let's first do the shading, and that's going to be done with the Payne's Gray. We can take our clean brush and we can wet the area as long as it's dry, and with the Payne's Gray, turn your piece upside down, start on the bottom. I'm going to chisel some of that color in and back in this way. What I do is I want to it to fade away. So if you need to take your clean brush and go back, you can fade it away that way. Again, on the corner of my flat, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add little divots where his feet are. Soften the edge. And then where the bush goes into, start on the chisel, and the bush goes in to the tree. You can mop and take the watered down brush and wash off the bottom, or we're going to end up putting white over it anyway. Okay. So now we go in with the white, and you can clean up the back area. You can come in and add some underneath the tree. Have it fade away. Pick up some more and have it go. Follow the tufts of the footprints, the indentations. Just going to run it off. I'm just slip slapping. It's not. Just making movement in the snow. If you want to add some hills in the background, have less paint on your brush, but you can go in and you can add some little movement back there as well. You can chisel that in. I'm going to brighten up the front, the foreground with some of this white. And chisel it out. Let's put another coat of white on him. Dry him. I'm going to wash over the deer with desert sand. I'm going to leave a small area of white at the base of his tail, the base of his belly, and around his nose head area. So that means I'm going to add water to my paintbrush so that it's very thin. I'm going to let the paper towel absorb the extra moisture and then come in with the wash. Make sure you leave some around the base of the tail, a little bit on the bottom. Bring it down his legs, on the base of his belly. Don't do all the belly. And I'm going to go a little bit under his chin, but that's about it. Leave the top. The top of his, from his eye to his nose, white. So we have a white tail, white belly, and the top to his nose white. Let's dry that. Now I'm going to, with the same color, make it a little deeper by doing a side load on his, or her, I should say her, back. Up to her ear, her backside, down to the leg there. I'm going to go from his thigh area here, make that a little bit more distinct. And then the underlegs. If you want, take your 10-aught liner brush and some of that color and make the back ear more solid. You can outline that one. Let's put some of this more darker color there. So this is creating a harder makeup line, if you will, to differentiate between the white belly and the body, or the two colors of the tail. But what we're doing is in the center with the wash, it kind of makes a mottled look, so that it gives you some movement to that body. I'm going to dry this. Now I'm going to take some burnt umber and create some definition. And you can do it with your 12 or 8, whatever you're comfortable with. And because I don't want it so dark, I'm going to pre-wet that area. Not too puddly. And I'm going to begin by hitting the backside. There we go. Hitting his backside a little bit. And chisel a line right there. And again, depending on how much paint you have on and how much water you have on, there could be a little bit of a dissipation of color. Chisel that down the back. Definitely go under that leg. Make that darker. And then we can chisel that down a little bit here on the back side. We're going to make this one darker. And where his thigh would come, you can add a little bit there. and the muscle for his shoulder area. We're going to do it on this, on the inside here, and bring it down. And then do a back-to-back kind of thing, and across the top of the white part of his belly. Add some touches of this color just below his back, above I added some touch of color right here, not connecting to the hip, but between where that ends and the back, top of the back. And you can kind of tap in some of that color as long as your surface is a little wet. I'm going to add some right to the back of his neck here, where it comes down from his shoulder. And then let's go to the head area and where his chin comes up. Tap that out and comes to the back of his ear. So it's like a back-to-back where the back of his head goes up to his ear. And I keep saying him, but it's really a her. And I'm going to put this on the back ear. And let's give her a little cheek area. And that's going to be a swoop of a chisel. And tap with your finger. On the front leg, let's put a little of this color down the back side. And we can put it down the back side of these as well, make it a little darker. Okay. I'm also going to add some of that burnt umber to the bottom where the feet go into the ground. So just do a little side load there. Okay, now I want to add the nose and the eye. And I'm going to do that with soft black. And the nose, it's kind of like the whole end here. And it won't show up very much. Kind of in a V shape. And then the eye, let's do a little swoop and then a dot. And on the nose, I'm going to put a little highlight of a white plus black mix, so it's a gray. It's a soft black white mix, and just kind of make it look like there's a little bit of a highlight, and put one in the eye. Because if you don't make it a little gray, you totally lose that definition. And we can actually add like a dot of white to the top of his nose. Let's go back to the tail, and we're going to take this fine liner and add a little bit of burnt umber first, just to the tip, and pick up some of that soft black and add a few dashes of that color over top of the burnt umber. So I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow on his neck, lower third to his shoulder. I can give him a little bit more definition. It starts a little thick and then kind of chisels down right below, right above the bottom of his neck. Angles towards his shoulder area. Now I'm going to go pick up some white. Again, side loaded. And I'm going to highlight some areas. If that is too white, what you can do is pick up a little of the desert sand and mix it with the white. And then highlight like his shoulder area. Tap it out. Top of his back. You can highlight his back thigh area. The front of his leg. The ones that are in front. You can do the tip of an ear, do this other ear. His nose is already pretty white, so you don't have to put any there. I'm going to put some along the top of his back. If his nose is too white, go ahead with your 3 round and add some more diluted desert sand, wash of desert sand. And then that burnt umber is that little cheekbone under his eye kind of thing. And I'm going to add a little bit against the bottom of his chin. With the liner brush, maybe I'll add a definition to his ear up here. When the trees are dry, you're going to add some Glamour Dust fine, ultrafine glitter paint to the trees and snow using your fan brush. And I sprinkled a little extra, just the dust, the crystal dust on top to give it even more shine. I evaluated my deer, added some more burnt umber, added the Santa red berries to that bush, and then added a glaze of Santa red to the deer. And what that is picking up some red on the corner of your brush and then having a lot of water in it. Walk it away until it almost disappears off your brush, both sides. Walk it away till there's hardly anything left on that brush. That's going to be your glaze. I put a little bit on his hindquarters, in front of his thigh. Make sure you don't go over the white. You can tack some on the leg in the dark areas, just to give him a little bit of warmth. Again, stay away from the white. A little bit on around his jawline. You want to stay away from the white area. Then I would go ahead and spray varnish this, so that you're not brushing off the glitter into areas that you don't want it. So Melissa, let's say your goodbyes.
All right, well, that was so much fun. I'm really excited about Christmas now, aren't you? So can't come soon enough. I loved that little postage stamp and the decorations that we made today, and I can't wait till next week. Thanks so much, Cindy.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. And we had a wonderful class. It was very exciting. Thank you for all your help. Thank you for continuing to watch. And I look forward to maybe seeing you, meeting you someday. Until next time, remember to always paint with heart. Thank you.
Cindy, you mute it yourself.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
This is what happens when I don't have my bestie with me. I'm totally lost. Okay. Oh.